I used XL Alolan Geodude in the Electric Cup, and this is how it went. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So, I am here today to showcase some battles here with a team I built around Alolan Geodude. And in this format, I am leading Alolan Geodude with Rock Throw, Rock Tomb, and Rock Slide with a safe swap of Galvantula, which we do get the nice safe swap here into the Electrode. This is just like a great situation for me in this first match, so I can just pretty much farm down the Electrode after them throwing that wild charge, and they just end up quitting. So yeah, great start to the video, right? Hit the like button just because we get a rage quit on the first match with this team. So we get Togedemaru, which personally, there's nothing that I'm really too afraid of. I mean, a wild charge could be a problem, but I'm just gonna assume they're not gonna want to throw a wild charge on the very first move because the defense drop will add up with our rock throw damage. So they do end up baiting, and I just decided not to shield, and I got lucky that they didn't try to throw a wild charge there, but at this point I'm like, you know what, maybe they are gonna throw the wild charge. And we make a good call. They bring in the Charm Chew, which is pretty interesting to see, makes sense. This cup is definitely full of electric types that you want to try to play a little more unorthodox than you typically would in the Open Great League. And that's why we're running Rock Throw on Alolan Geodude with Rock Tomb as opposed to something like Volt Switch and Thunderbolt, which is what my go-to set typically is. But in this match, we are barely able to make it out there and just have a wild charge from the Raichu matchup and into the Togedemaru, and fortunately for us, we can just bring in our Galvantula in on there. Let's get a lunge, and it's pretty much just going to be GG at this point because I can just take the lunge to the face, and I could even just stay in and keep throwing lunges instead of switching the Geodude if I don't really feel comfortable doing so. But they end up just throwing double lunge, and I can safely just bring in Geodude and farm down the rest of the match. But I just end up throwing the Rock Slide anyways, so GG's. So my resources are pretty low. I've been playing more actively since I've been playing this season for Go Battle League. I just got back from Community Day a little bit ago as I'm recording this video. I'm a little exhausted, but yeah, that was a lot of fun going out, meeting up with RC Cola and kind of just hanging out around downtown Burbank and grinding for some Clodsire and Quagsire for Great League and such. But yeah, this team, my Galvantula that I had built had low attack, and yeah, because this format is heavily weighted on a lot of like RPS matchups at times, I initially tried a couple sets where I was leading Galvantula because I thought it could be a pretty decent lead, but every single Galvantula match that I got in, I just would lose CMP due to the fact that mine has one attack. So I tried to build a team that I could actually take advantage over the fact that my Galvantula does not have a high attack stat, so it's not going to win CMP, but if I do get that little bit of energy lead, then it doesn't matter because I will go first just purely based on the fact that I have a few more Fury Cutters in. So yeah, I've been enjoying using Galvantula as a designated safe swap in most scenarios, and having Hisuian Electrode also as a potential safe swap depending on how the matches play out. But it wouldn't be a safe swap, it would be more of like a counter swap situation. But we definitely love having the Electrode to help deal with Lantern, but in this matchup, I just kind of barely lost that one because the water gun damage from Lantern's still going to hurt on Hisuian Electrode regardless. I got a little in-depth there explaining the team, so I'll try to focus a little bit more on commentating over this next match, but yeah, generally when we get Galvantula in our Electrode, we can take at least one attack safely. It's not that big of an issue, and because a lot of times they're going to want to throw a wild charge, we just want to let that happen so we can just kind of exploit their defense drop with our Fury Cutter and just kind of rack up a lot of damage and gain some energy. As you can see, this person kind of had to shield at least once, and then realizing that I had two lunges, they just let their own Galvantula go down, which was great. And seeing that they have the Lantern in the back, we can safely bring in Hisuian Electrode and pretty much deal with this matchup. Still have to be careful. I mean, Lantern with energy, or maybe the difference of shields and HP, can definitely flip an Electrode matchup. format definitely requires you to be pretty delicate about the Pokemon that you're intending on closing out with for the battle. So I think this might be the final battle of this set, potentially. We do get the Shadow Magnetism, which I do think is a really cool pick as a lead, especially. We're going to let the first move go through. Thankfully, it is a Mirror Shot and not a Wild Charge, because a Wild Charge probably... maybe it would have been lethal, I'm not entirely sure, but if we shielded, they probably just didn't want to, you know, deal with that. But yeah, ends up working out pretty okay in our scenario. We can actually get off a lunge here, forcing them to have to throw a move, or we risk throwing a lunge back at them again. So they can't really farm down here. And I might as well just bring in Geodude just to kind of create alignment again. And they do end up bringing Electrode. So this isn't the worst scenario. I mean, it would have been nice to switch into my Electrode to eat this Energy Ball. But at the same time, we will most likely trade shields here. And the damage from Rock Throw is still really nice. And here I do actually make the correct switch, which, you know, I think this was still okay. Because it ended up that they just threw Wild Charge anyway, so looking pretty good for us. I mean, the fact that we were able to catch that move, we don't even really need to... We can just let Electrode even die here, so I'm just gonna like try to farm the Magnezone. And that pays off because we are able to at least throw one Wild Charge, and even better that their little Thunder Shock wasn't able to knock me out, even though I was at minus defense and low HP. So yeah, I was able to just kind of close out there with a Rock Throw from Geodude. So GG's 4-1 set to start out this video. And let's jump into our next set. And we get a Luxray lead. This is a situation where I would always safe swap into Galvantula no matter what. We kind of have to like, that's my best advice if you're gonna run a team like this. We're gonna get wrecked by Hidden Power Ground if you're wondering. Luxray runs that in this format, so if you see a Luxray, more than likely it has Hidden Power Ground, and you don't want to be in on it for a lot of the picks, depending on what you're using. But Galvantula being a bug does kind of remove the ground weakness, and same with Electrode. They're both virtually neutral attacks on these Pokemon. But yeah, we end up losing our Galvantula to the Graveler. And yeah, at this point, it's just kind of dicey because they have a much better scenario than us. So I just end up leaving that match because there really wasn't much I was going to be able to do with my Hisuian Electrode and one shield. So here we are with a Galvantula lead, and they stay in. And I could actually take a lunge, but I don't know. I'm not really like counting or paying attention too close in some of these matches. But yeah, for the most part, I didn't want to risk just dying to an Energy Ball turn 1. And yeah, they end up bringing Lantern, which I can safe swap to my Galvantula and just go for the lunge. They bring in a Minu, which I'm okay with because we don't really... We're using Galvantula as a way to help deal with Lantern, but our real answer to Lantern is actually Hisuian Electrode. So that's kind of like the mindset. A lot of people seem to be running Lanterns in the back line. Or if they do lead it, if we switch to Galvantula, that can help us realign the match later in the fight and use Electrode to beat Lantern. So they end up just leaving knowing that at that point, even though they had up a shield, they weren't going to be able to withstand the power of the Electrode's damage. So yeah, same scenario. Typically, if we get a Galvantula lead with Geodude, it's important to pay attention to what they switch into. If they switch into Lantern, we bring in Electrode. If they bring in Galvantula, if they bring in Luxray, we bring in Galvantula. That's a better pick. If they bring in... What was the other one I was trying to think of? If they bring in their Hisuian Electrode, we bring in Galvantula. So there are things that we have to pay attention to, but generally if we win the lead, that's the thing. That's what we got to do, is just pay attention. Because as you see there, we just kind of like kept alignment and dominated that match due to that. We get a Manectric lead, which I thought was kind of interesting. They bring in Minu, and I'm going to try to just farm a bit of energy. Unfortunately, I don't make the right call to switch out in time, so I'm going to have to commit a shield. So I decided, you know, I'll just generate a bit more energy. I also decide, why not just preserve my energy on Geodude? Maybe it will become helpful throughout the match. Maybe they'll forget I have it. So we bring an Electrode, and Quick Attack is gonna rack up a decent amount of damage on us, so we have to be a little careful still against Minu. They do end up just letting that, shielding that first one, which is a little dicey. I do get a wild charge off on my Netric. I think they just let it go through. Yeah, it's a nice chunk, but yeah, we're just gonna have to try our best to bring back in something. And I think we bring in Geodude and go straight for the Rock Slide, which is nice because it forces this Manectric to commit the shield. And at this point I was thinking, I can't even remember what this Pokemon has, but then they use Psychic Fang, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's Psychic Fangs and Wild Charge. So yeah, I end up shielding the second Psychic Fang, just thinking maybe that could be a Wild Charge, but unfortunately it wasn't. But I think maybe shielding that damage would have been, I think it was pretty viable there as well. I go for the Energy Knot, which, I mean, excuse me, Energy Ball. I just mixed Grass Knot and Energy Ball. I go for Energy Ball. It does a great chunk of damage here on Lantern, and fortunately I can actually just barely get to a lunge, which will help remove this threat. And from here, it's just a matter of outpacing the Minu, which I am fortunately able to Rock Throw down before they get off a Grass Knot. In this next match, we get a Minu lead. So Minu, this is actually not a terrible matchup for Geodude at all. We can resist the quick attack damage, being a rock type. All we really need to do is shield the Grass Knots, and I feel like these, I've not seen a Minu bait me yet, but I'm sure there's going to be some occasions where they bait. That's probably the way they can flip the matches, if they bait with Discharge. But as long as you shield the Grass Knots, the Rock Throw damage will rack up so much. But yeah, in this matchup I figured it's a little dicey, but I do have two Wild Charges. I'm just going to launch them both on Galvantula. This can be somewhat of an issue, just primarily based on the fact that this thing is going to be very scary to bring something in on, and I'm probably just going to bring in Geodude and pray. I was thinking that they're going to just throw a lunge, knowing that I'm more than likely going to shield, and I make such a great call, and that's exactly what happens. So instead of shielding that and farming down, I figured it might be beneficial, because there's no way that Galvantula is going to get up another attack at that HP if I can just bring in my Galvantula and farm down with Fury Cutter. So I do force them to switch out, and I just end up trying my best to go for a farm down on Minu. Fortunately, I'm able to pull that off. That quick attack damage did add up, though. It's pretty dicey. But if I'm not mistaken, is that Hisuian Electrode? Yeah, they bring in Hisuian Electrode, and that ends up working out super good for me because I throw a double lunge, and at this point, I should be able to just farm down their Galvantula. And GG. Alright, so that's another 4-1 set. And if you enjoyed this video, definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing. I have another video I'm actually going to be posting here in a day or so, so definitely stay tuned for that. Good luck on your battles, and with that being said, the Sass Squad's getting stronger each and every day. Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. And if you're interested in watching more GBL content from me, consider watching this video right here, or this video right here.